We stayed at Ocean Grove RV Resort in St. Augustine Beach, right on A1A. It was a short trip to get to the beach and 7 miles from the historic part in downtown St. Augustine. St. Augustine is the oldest continuously occupied settlement of European and African American origin in the United States. It was founded in 1565 by Spanish Admiral Pedro Menendez de Avilés. Construction on Castillo de San Marcos began in 1672. It became the fortress that protected St. Augustine. Only 7 years after the Spanish finished the Castillo de San Marcos, it would see the first test of its strength, a siege by English forces from Charlestown, Carolina. Although the Castillo never fell to enemy forces in battle, it did finally change hands from Spanish to British through the treaty that ended the French and Indian War.
So they used to sleep here?
Yeah, this was their barracks. One of their barracks rooms.
La vida de los soldados.
The Castillo is constructed with a unique stone called coquina. The Spanish built with it because it was the only local stone. Turned out to be the best thing they could have used. Cannonballs bounced right off. After the Castillo, we headed over to St. Augustine Beach to check that out.
Hey, babe. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
So we drove up from Key Largo to St. Augustine today. Already went and saw the Castillo de San Marcos. Tomorrow we're going to explore the old city here in St. Augustine. Right now before dinner we decided to take a little walk on St. Augustine Beach here on the Atlantic Ocean. Not a bad evening stroll. Very nice beach out here. What do you think?
Nice. After the rain.
Yeah, drove through a little rain on the way up here. Not too bad. Came up 95 most of the way, and then when we got to Daytona Beach, we cut over onto A1A and brought that up the rest of the way so we could get some nice ocean views along the way. We'll talk to y'all tomorrow when we go to Old Town. Say good night.
Good night.
Bye night.
Morning.
Good morning. So we're in Old Town St. Augustine this morning. I'm going to take a little tour of this area and see what things look like. I'm going to start with some coffee. So we found this pretty close to where we parked.
It's pretty cute.
I think it's meant to be iced coffee this morning. What do you think?
Iced coffee sounds good.
Hello.
Café con hielo para empezar la mañana.
So the big stone gates behind us here were the entrance to St. Augustine. They were built to help protect the city before Castillo de San Marcos had been built. So the fort over there, the entrance to the city was here. Whenever they would be attacked or in times of siege, the residents from the city would go into Castillo de San Marcos and take refuge in there. So the decorations on top of these are supposed to represent pomegranates. Originally, this would have been all covered in a white plaster and decorated with red at the top. And then this would have been the entrance to the city. So these are a bunch of historic buildings. Some of them are very, very old. Yeah, they used oyster shells and then mixed them up with some other stuff.
With sand or mud or...
They called it tabby. So when you see it listed on these houses that it was built out of tabby, that's what it is.
Wow.
So this little alleyway is all full of a bunch of different artists and such. Look at the ferns growing on top of the wooden roofs.
Smells really nice over here.
That's that soap shop, I think. Soap and candles.
Look at those pelicans.
You think that's good?
There we go.
She's looking at you. That's cute. The Salcedo house.
Former home of Jorge Biasun. So it was a home of the nation's first black general. Came to St. Augustine from Santo Domingo. Oh, from Haiti in 1796 as an officer of the Spanish militia. This is Gallegos' house. Artilleryman Martin Martinez Gallegos lived on this property. His wife Victoria brought into the marriage in the 1960s. Crews used colonial building materials and colonial building techniques to replicate the original house constructed of tabby made from local oyster shells. The house had one large room divided for sleeping and other indoor uses. Pretty cool. We'll take a look inside here. So what's the thing called that they're grinding corn with?
Oh, that is called el metate. And I thought it was used by Indians in Mexico. I didn't know the Spaniards used it too. But it comes from, what's that word? Pre-Hispanic.
So it was before the Spanish got here, the indigenous people used it. It looks like, at least according to this representation, that the Spanish took up using it after they got here as well. So this is the old wooden schoolhouse. So they listed as being the oldest wooden schoolhouse in the USA. It even has documentation from the Department of the Interior, making it as a historic site.
Wow.
Pretty cool. So the old wooden schoolhouse back here, you can go inside it if you want. They charge a fee to go in that one. Most things here are free. There's a couple of the areas that do have small fees if you want to go inside and check them out. A little warm today, huh? So we're getting ready to do a tour in the colonial quarter, they call it. We'll record a bunch of that as we go so you can see what's up.
There. Allow me to introduce myself, folks. My name is Cooper. It is my job to explain to you all everything you'd like to know about our little 2 acres of history right here in downtown St. Augustine. Now, folks, I don't know if you all realize this, but the entirety of the city of St. Augustine is what we have legally deemed as hallowed ground. Do you all know what this means?
Holy.
Holy. Basically what it means is that there have been so many people who have fought on this land, so many people have died trying to defend it, that no matter where you're standing or sitting, you're probably standing or sitting right now on a dead body. And it all dates back to the year of 1565, when a man by the name of Don Pedro Menendez first set foot on this land. Now he comes here with the intention to reclaim the Spanish territory, whatever that meant. And basically what it meant is that a bunch of French Huguenots were technically trespassing on what was technically Spanish territory. Now I say technically because when Ponce de Leon arrived, he put his little flag in the ground. He said, "We claim this land in the name of Spain." Then he left because he said it was too hot. There was one thing that they never liked to make out of leather. That was hats. They didn't like making leather hats. Anybody got a guess as to why?
It can get hot sometimes.
They can get hot, might get sweaty, they might shrink when they get wet, but the biggest issue was every time somebody wore a leather hat, they always went crazy. No one could explain why. Had to do with a chemical in the leather tanning process that was soaking into their heads, making them all go insane. Gave them a disease they called Mad Hatter's disease. This chemical, I'll give you a hint, you can find it in thermometers. Mercury! Says this metal is now nice and hot. This is what they call red hot black iron. Now they call this black iron because, well, it's black and it's iron. It's where we get the term blacksmithing from the iron they used to work with, and from the term smith, which comes from the word smite, to smack something with a hammer.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button so you see future videos.